The last thing your hot chips see. Why foreigners are afraid of Australia versus why Aussies are afraid of Australia. What you leave out for Santa, America versus Australia. Choke me daddy, me, feeds her Weet-Bix with no milk. Save the animals in Australia, the animals in Australia. How to catch an Australian. Bugs in Pokemon, bugs in Australia. He calls it man versus wild, in Australia we call it camping. Just 1 teaspoon of Milo, right mom? Experts, Aussies who eat Vegemite have lower anxiety levels, me. Australians have accidentally been eating a fish unknown to science, thank goodness, usually, it's the other way round, fish unknown to science is eating Australians. Cow caught casually eating snake in outback Australia, I'm confused as to how the food chain works in Australia. Looks like frost, but it's spider season in Australia, burn the whole country, or damn, my bad. The Mediterranean Sea perfectly fits inside Australia. Australia do this. If this happened it would drown nearly 5 people. Punching sharks now declared Australia's national sport. How Australian can you get? This bloke was 6 foot tall. Fun Australian fact. This kangaroo is waiting for pursuers to come into the water with him, where he will try to drown them. They are extremely good at it. Australian addict dresses up as cop and raids another user's home. Australia is mental. This is an actual photo of a dog eating a shark, while 2 snakes fight to the death. This really reassures me about my upcoming Australia work trip. Australia is beautiful. See a hawk literally throw a snake at an innocent family. This really flew here all the way from Australia. The most dangerous flightless bird in Australia is sitting under a beach umbrella stealing gapes. Are you going to tell what's basically a dinosaur that it can't have your grapes or beach spot? Because I'm not. Australian man involved in a shark attack beats shark to death with his own severed leg. How do Australians reproduce? We throw a boomerang, and whoever catches it is our designated mate. My friend left her window open in her bedroom and came back to find this. If there was a post to describe Australia, this is it. Not all Australian animals will kill you. Don't get me wrong. He wants to. He just can't. A possum broke into an Australian bakery and ate so many pastries it couldn't move. This is how they found him. Rare mutated golden Australia possum is named Pikachu. Australian McDonald's is shitting on American McDonald's, WTF. Meanwhile in Australia, we see the funny side to almost everything. Activists, we need to save the Australian wildlife. The Australian wildlife. Co-worker, what did you do Saturday night? Me, a rampaging Australian pig drank 18 beers and got in a fight with a cow. You know you're Australian when? Mum. Why is my cousin's name Gold? Because your aunt likes gold, sweetie. Well, what about me? Enough questions, Macus run. When she says she likes guys who are tough on the outside but soft on the inside. Oh sweet, a snow day, no school, said no Australian ever. How about now? Is this a Halloween decoration or a picture of a house in Australia? Why do so many people think spiders are evil and out to get you? Look at this nerd run away in an overly dramatic cartoonish way, just because something touched it. But spot the Australian. Alternative human evolution, that's just an Australian. Australian man caught sea monster with no eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. I feel like Australia is where the devil keeps his pets. Australia vs Pluto. I had no idea they had beef. The end of Australia. A rare image of an American and an Australian in a public restroom at the same time. Me, we should replace the British monarch on our coins with Australian symbols. Friend, what should we put on it? Me. It's 2 AM and I can't sleep. Starter pack. I'm bored. Wanna do something. The only shots you'd never regret the next morning. You know you're Australian when the TV you watched as a kid still gives you nightmares. Magpie season. the pupil of your eye can expand as much as 55% while looking at something you love. When you're 12, but still wanna crack a cold one. I never know what's going to happen. When I go into Kmart, will I be there for 5 minutes, 5 hours? Will I spend $5 or 500? Who knows? Nonos is trying to figure out how to make Vegemite on toast like. In Australia we lock the doors because of them. POV, an Australian waking up. This is Australia. There are 1275 animals that could kill you in this picture. When Australians can't believe it, Norway. Downvoting a meme because it's not your opinion. Downvoting a meme because it's false. Downvoting a meme because you like it as an Australian. A quick guide to speaking Australian. Downvote, Australian upvote. Have you guys ever seen a wet koala? It's the scariest thing ever, like ever. American style anarchy and violence, a somewhat functional government, Australia. Meanwhile in Australia. Only in Australia you find magpies attacking a rider on an electricity box. Australians be like. Canadian kids wearing shorts when it's 10 degrees outside. Australian kids wearing jackets when it's 30 degrees out. American kids not understanding the meme because they don't know what Celsius degree is. Travel in Australia. When you wanna post a meme about Australia. Scott Morrison denies climate change, the whole country of Australia in one day. You know Australia is dangerous when the second lowest fire level is high. What people think Australia is like versus what it's actually like. Non-Australian. I got hit by a hailstone. Gosh it hurts. Australian. Oh yeah, the spikes are brutal. Non-Australian. The what now? Volcanoes, the only thing not trying to kill Australians. Australian slang. Actual words, random words that rhyme with the original phrase, mate. How it feels when you cut your mouth on a super duper packet. What people think Australia is like, what it's actually like. What kind of Australian are you? Has no taste buds, perfect human, probably a serial killer. This is why Australia and New Zealand are always fighting. The Americans told me to spend 3.5 billion US on tanks against the Chinese, so I did. Mate, we live on an island. Well, she. $240 versus $4. Only in Australia, appropriate footwear must be worn while on the premises. Minimum requirement thongs. Australians in Bali start a pack. Roses are red, fake teeth are called dentures. Man hitting a balloon on Hawaii's cooking adventures. When you walked into school with one of these bad boys and became popular for 3 minutes. How to piss of an Aussie. The uploader has not made this video available in your country. When you go to Canadian hospital, well, this maneuver's gonna cost us nothing. Person walked into me by accident. They said sorry before I could. Biggest riot in Canadian history. When people in Canada sect, hello, would you like pee pics? No thank you. Okay, sorry for offering. Thanks for asking first. No problem. Americans who have free toilets, Europeans who have free healthcare, Canadians who have both. USA, if mosquitoes up in Canada are so bad, why don't you just buy bug spray? Meanwhile, mosquitoes in Canada. Canada looks really broken. We are slowly trying to distance ourselves from the US piece by piece. Drinking age is 16. 16. Ours is 18. 18. We have to be 21. You guys have a drinking age. What foreigners are scared of in Canada? What Canadians are scared of in Canada? That feeling when you're Canadian and you can travel anywhere and people like you. Canada normally, Canada in war, Canada when a global pandemic threatens the hockey season. No one knew what these lollipops were called. Me at 5:45 am, Tim Hortons drive-thru. Sorry I was late for work, the traffic was horrible, the traffic. American, you Canadians are very polite and boring. What you guys do for fun? Me, we watch your election. When the plow frigs up the job ya had done on the driveway, shake harder boy. When your windows aren't defrosted, but you go for it anyways. Dog owners watching the snow rapidly disappear from their yard over the past 48 hours. I hope you cold-loving weirdos are happy. There are two types of people. I shouldn't drive in the snow. Wee. When a snowplow driver sees me finishing up my driveway. Picture this, it's the dead middle of summer, your mom gets home with these for you and your friends. What do you call these? The taking a sick day from school in the 1990s starter pack. Newly renovated 1-bedroom apartment for rent $2,500 per month, utilities not including. Everyone after a snowstorm, how are the roads? Every Canadian has had a bagel from Timmy's that was so disappointing that you didn't go back for several months. Watching your paper straw dissolve as Trudeau travels 26,238 kilometers by plane in July. Canadians. Americans are so fat, they eat so many burgers, especially fries. Chef puts gravy and cheese curds on fries. Canadians. When everyone is complaining about the cold, pathetic. First snowflake drops, traffic. Every 80s kid know the agony of getting branded by one of these seatbelts on a hot summer day. Every single time I open one of these things. Justin Trudeau after realizing he forgot to get eggs at the grocery store. Welcome to Canada. Winter starts at 6 AM, spring is at 10, summer hits at 2 PM, and fall should show up around 4:30ish. Dress accordingly. Fuel prices are so high that I went to the car dealership and test drove 3 cars to run my errands. Follow me for more money saving tips. Gas prices hitting everyone. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the nice breeze, the breeze. When people come to elders for wisdom and tea, that's what I do. I drink tea and I know things. When you realize, election day means you can take a 3-hour lunch break. I have winter tires and heated seats. Canadians flirting. Canadians during Winter Olympics, during Summer Olympics. Meanwhile in Canada, it's too cold to change the sign. Never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, and a Canadian who owns Tim Hortons. Canadian riot, this is the last straw, I'm a little upset. When you've had enough of the snow. As a Canadian I sometimes think the stereotypes are too much. Today my teacher walked around in class giving frozen maple syrup on a stick to everyone in class. In other countries, they have an elf on a shelf. In Canada we have Canada in real life. Canada according to Americans. US in US history books. Russia in Russian history books. Canada in Canadian history books. Canadian graffiti at its finest. Call me racist if you want, but south of the border is a sea full of violence, stupidity, and corruption I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Thank God I live in Canada. Americans in November, happy Thanksgiving. Meanwhile in Canada, again. What foreigners are scared of in Canada, what Canadians are scared of in Canada. Canadians when it's 3 degrees Celsius, Australians when it's 30 degrees Celsius, Americans not knowing what C is. Why does Calgary always look like a before picture? Has anyone seen Canada? Hold on, I got this. Ahem. Oh, the year 1778. How I wish I was in Sherbrooke now. Canadian women are on another level. Canadian satisfaction is kicking these off. When a Canadian asks me if Colombia only exports cocaine, I answer, not only Colombia is also a global supplier of coal just like Canada. Most Canadian way to hang a flag. In Canada we play a game called Am I on the Road? How many kid went into the wash before this warning was needed? Meanwhile in Canada. You know you're in Canada when hockey games end up like this. I plugged in the car for you baby. Romance in Canada. Other maple syrup. Canadian maple syrup. USA, schools closed. Canada, are such a lovely day. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Canada edition. Me as a Canadian on US election day, are we praying? People in the Northeast dealing with unhealthy air pollution, blame Canada. Just need Americans to know this is what Canadian political cartoons look like these days. Americans, oh sorry I can't drink I'm 19. Canadians. Move to Canada they said, it's better they said. Didn't know Taylor Swift was Canadian. Canadian security, please do not be offended. For security reasons, the residents in this building will not hold the door open for you. You must be bussed in. Black Friday in US be like. Black Friday in Canada be like. How babies are born in Canada. Canadian problems. Meanwhile in Canada. Canadians, what if it's not even that cold out, Canada. Most people in winter, Canadians in winter. It's spring, nope. When you need to get your mail in Canada. Canadian vandalism is getting out of hand. The look hockey fans make once the season is over and they try to find something else to watch. Stealing a bike in Canada. What it's like getting drunk in Canada. I just learned that Canadians actually buy their peanut butter like this, and I'm so angry.